Well, welcome to Public Speaking Now I Can, getting you right first. My name's Laurie Smale, and I'm a master speaking coach. I've had years and years of experience helping people to overcome their fear and anxiety of speaking before groups. I'm an inspirational speaker and author of How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking, the heart and soul of this whole series. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a member of the Australian Society of Authors, and I've written 3 books: Finding Me, Finding You, which deals with insecurity and self-doubt; How to Be a Conversational Success, which really holds the secrets of being able to converse freely in any social situation; and How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking, which shows us how to bring this sense of self-worth, which we learnt in the first book, and that feeling of comfortableness up in front of an audience so they too feel comfortable in your presence and really believe that you're talking to them personally. That's my approach to public speaking. And these books can be bought online or from your favourite bookstore. And my first book, Finding Me, Finding You, is also available in audio. I'm also active on social media with my weekly inspirational quotes, my weekly magic minute little snippets of life in video form, monthly articles, they go a little bit deeper into the subject, and my monthly newsletter, which you can obtain via email or LinkedIn. Now, if you want to avail yourself to this information, you can easily do so with a QR code to my contact page at my website or all of these platforms. I'm on all of them, and whether you want to follow, subscribe, or notify me about something, there's my link on each of them. And if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, down here on LinkedIn or online. Couple more little things. I acknowledge the traditional owners of land where we're all based. Slides and video recording link will be emailed to all registered guests. Please add any questions you have in the chat, and please add your feedback or reviews in the chat or online. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. Now, when you enrolled in this program, there were many things among you, and one of the most prevalent could be a genuine fear of public speaking. Then again, some of you might be proficient at speaking. You're just looking for some new ways of making it more effective, more interesting. Well, you're in the right place, because this panic-free journey is going to take you there. But here's what I promise you. No one is ever going to be made a fool of or sent up in any way. I don't work like that. No one's going to be picked on. No. Here we're going to just travel along, and your fears or anxieties are going to fall to the wayside, because that's how this journey goes. And that little list of things I got you to write down and bring with you about stumbling blocks and that, they're for your eyes only. So just let them aside, and as we progress, they'll fade away like so much mist and won't be a problem anymore. You know, if the fear of public speaking, no matter what your level is, remember, what your level is if it's not addressed, it grows. And it can grow to the point that you actually are so scared of being tapped on the shoulder and asked to speak that it can affect your quality of life. So that's what we've got to deal with. I'll never forget the time I was sitting in the foyer in Melbourne, waiting for a client to come along and do some personal corporate coaching. And I noticed a young woman sitting opposite me, and she was as white as a sheet. She was visibly distraught. She was shaking, and she was trying to write something down. So concerned, I said, "Are you all right?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm terrified. I'm in the middle of a presentation skills seminar, and I've got to give a talk in 20 minutes' time, and I know nothing about it." Now just think about it. This woman had been sitting there for half a day, and the presenter had been talking about peripheral things, about body language and pace and pitch and modulation and how to put a talk together. But they hadn't dealt with the core fear of why she was there, why she was fearful. And now she was going to get thrown to the wolves. So I quickly introduced myself and told her what I do and gave her a little formula. So at least that gave her some hope. But we don't work like that here. No baptism of fire. That's not going to achieve anything. Some people make it, but many more don't and are damaged for life. I want you to come out the end of this feeling fantastic. So now I can. So, one of the main fears, we're going to, into session 4, we do all the roadblocks, the stumbling blocks, the obstacles. But what we're going to do tonight is the title of this session, Getting You Right First, because one of the biggest fears is that imposter syndrome, the feeling like a fake and a fraud, feeling like what am I doing here? I'll get found out, the truth. You see, I felt like that for about 40 years of my life. I was terrified that all my insecurities, I'd have to live with them forever because I couldn't tell anyone about them. I'd grown up in a little country house in the back blocks of Victoria. My mum was a war widow, 5 unruly kids, no electricity, no running water. And yet I felt there wasn't much love in the house. There wasn't time. We were all trying to survive. I'd left school when I was 14. Sheer torment of maths made me run away from school. And that went on to dog me for another 30 years. No one knew about it, not even my own brother, Mark, till he read my book. But somehow I survived. Somehow I got an education. Somehow I find myself here today running this seminar on helping people believe in themselves and communicate with confidence. At last, I've got myself right. And I say at last, I don't want it to be at last for you. I want to get you right tonight. Not first, but now. That's where we're heading. That's where we're heading with you. What is your story anyway? Told you a bit of mine. You see, everyone has their trials and tribulations, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad. But what that actually is, it's not just a life. How many people have said to me, I've never done anything interesting in my life. I've lived a pretty ordinary existence. And yet when I get talking to them, they've had a fascinating journey. And we're our own worst enemy. So no matter what you've been through, no matter what your successes you've celebrated, and that's good, no matter whether you're young or old, what is important is how you value your learnings in life. Your learnings are your own store of worldly wisdom. And that's where you get the getting you right first from. We don't just say, oh, that's past, that's all gone. There was a lot of pain in there. Sure there was, but there was a lot of best things in life sometimes are what not to do. A lot of that in there, that's of equal value. In fact, probably worth more. Let me tell you about Kate. Oh, yeah, first of all, that young girl that was in the foyer, no one got her right first. They were going to throw her to the wolves. Kate, 22 she phoned me up, and she was absolutely petrified of public speaking. She could barely speak on the phone. She said, can you help me? And I said, the courage it took you to phone me up means that we'll use that courage, and I can certainly help you. And I invited her to a panic-free public speaking workshop I was doing for the Australian Institute of Management, people she'd never mingled with. She was just barely out of college. But she turned up, to my surprise. And I said, Kate, have a coffee. grab a sandwich, say hello to someone, and sit down and you'll be safe. I won't even acknowledge you. And then for the next hour, I addressed that room full of very frightened people. Very scared. Remember the title of the workshop? How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking? That's why they were there. They were all scared. But when I do a one-on-one coaching session, I'm with the one person. When I've got 100 people in the room, I've got to use some other technique. So what I do is use a metaphor, my story, and within that story, they can see themselves and save face. They can see themselves and change their thinking. They can see themselves and change their behavior. They can see themselves and change their life like I did. And I felt that happening. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Kate sitting up a little bit straighter, thinking, I'm not just a student anymore. I've got value with what I've lived with so far. And then I set them up to have the confidence to turn to the person next to them, a complete stranger, and share a little happening of life and make a point with it. And when we'd done that successfully, I said, now what I'd like is a courageous volunteer to make their way from that comfortable seat up on the platform with me and share that little happening, that little story with the audience and make a point to the whole lot of them. Do you know what happened? Nothing. Silence. But then I saw a hand move. Yeah, it was Kate's. Couldn't believe it. Before she could change her mind, I led the applause, and this wave of warmth almost propelled this terrified young woman up onto the platform next to me. Her knees were visibly knocking, her hands were shaking, but she courageously walked forward. And I led her to the microphone and just gently went to the side, just enough to support her, but enough to leave her there so she could grow and do this all by herself. And then I said to that audience, I said, now Kate is going to tell you a story. And like I said to you just a while ago, she's going to go straight into the story. And within a very short space of time, she's going to calm down and continue. And with a quavering voice, that's exactly what she did. She said, 2 years ago, I went for my first job interview. I was terrified. And she said, the man led me down this long corridor to this big table, and it was full of all this office type stuff. There were spikes with different bits of paper on it, dockets, invoices, stamps, jars with pencils and pens in them, a computer type thing with all buttons on it, something I hadn't seen before. She said, and he spoke on and on and on, and I didn't understand a word he was saying. I came out in the cold sweat, my head was spinning. And then he said, now, if you need any help, I'm just down the end of the corridor. Don't hesitate to ask. But don't mix any of those things up because they're very important. Kate said she grabbed the table in case she fainted as he walked away. She was out in a cold sweat by now and somehow made it to the ladies' room, pulled the door behind her, grabbed that stainless steel railing on the side, and she said, I banged my head against my hands and just stared at the wall, which what seemed like hours, until she finally had the courage to venture out. They'd all gone home. She just grabbed her things and ran for her life. Went home and said to her mum, I'm never going back again. It was the most awful time I've ever had. And her mum said, you've got to, because if you don't, it will haunt you for years. So Kate had the courage and went back, and she told that audience, and I've been there for 3 years now, and I love it. Then Kate did something remarkable. She stepped out of that paranoia that had dogged her all this time, and with open arms implored this room full of strangers, business people she'd never met, and said, if you are afraid of something, anything, don't run away like I did, and stay away. Come back and face it. and you might get a pleasant surprise. Well, the applause was heartfelt and it was prolonged. You see, Kate changed her life that night. Kate got herself right. She realised that she was okay. She wasn't just a student. In fact, let's have a look at what she learnt. Let's have a look at what Kate learnt on this life-changing evening. Kate simply bypassed all the public speaking stereotypes and shared her happening with her audience in the natural way she would with family and friends. In other words, she wasn't focused on public speaking because she was too scared. I just told her to tell the story, and that's what she did. She conversed with these people, and they couldn't help but respond in kind with warm smiles and nods of heads. Kate never forgot that. But most important, Kate discovered she wasn't a fake or a fraud. She did not have to live a whole lifetime to have something to say till she was older like Laurie, full of wisdom. She had something to say. She'd already earned the right to talk about the fears and challenges of what a young person faces as they're moving forward in life. Kate was an expert on that. I'm not. She was. So, I'll come back to that in a minute. So what have we learned here? Well, we've learned that, like the story about the girl in the foyer and Kate's story and my story, I spoke from memory, and they live and they breathe. With what Kate got out of her talk, I used bullet points. Now, bullet points are okay. They're good for conveying factual information, quotes, facts and figures, but they cannot convey the complex ideas like a story can. Only an interesting story can do that. So that's why I just talked to those incidents, those happenings, with a key idea. If I had read the whole presentation, it would be rather plain, but I've brought it to life with these stories. Now we're going to go into something else, because I'm going to gift you what Kate discovered through a little story I'm going to share with you. I gave you a glimpse at something just before. I'll show you in a minute. And if you've got a pen and paper with you, as I'm telling this story, I want you to jot something down. You know, when you're in conversation with someone and you say, oh, yeah, that reminds me, yeah, something you're thinking, something similar happened to me once. And it sort of sparks a similar thing from your life. Well, that will happen as I'm telling this story. Just write down about, the great water fight, mum's scones or whatever. Okay, just do that. That's all I want you. I'll tell you what to do that later. Okay. And when I'm finished this, I'm going to reveal a little 4-step formula, which is magic, and you'll be able to duplicate what you see me do. So let's go in, and I'll show you the glimpse of what you think you saw just before. And this story has a title, and it's called Don't Dice with Danger. Now, that is a copperhead snake. It's one of Victoria's most lethal. And that's exactly what I saw when I was 9 years old, mushrooming with my brother Brian and Daryl. My legs would possibly be a little bit skinnier than that big fat body there. I was only little, and there we were. Now, the old adage says never appear on stage with animals or children. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to leave this magnificent beast beside you, so you're looking at that and not looking at me. Take a good look at the snake. I mean, if you're talking about the anatomy of a snake, you'd leave it there and point out. So get rid of him. So don't leave a picture up there unless you're still making points about it. So there we were, mushrooming in the fields in the back blocks of Seaford. And I had a wicker basket made of steel plate. Very heavy it was. Now, I was only a little kid. And I saw that snake, the picture there, not that actual one, but just like it, a beautiful big snake. He'd just woken up, I think. He wasn't doing me any harm. He wasn't. He was just there. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever done anything stupid that you've regretted in your life? Well, that's what I did that day. I don't know why, but I'm telling you, I got the basket and I just put it down onto the snake. Why, I don't know. And the snake didn't like it. And it put its tail around my ankle and started to pull itself out. Now, they're deadly. Copperheads, you die. There's no hope. They've got huge fangs and a big, full of poison. And I pushed it down, and the snake pulled himself out, and I pushed it down. I said to my brothers, quick, go and get a stick. It's going to come out. Well, it didn't take long, and they were back with it. I thought, wow, great. And I'm pushing it down. I can feel a snake getting out. And you know what my brothers did? They started to have a little argument who was going to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. I said, someone do it quick. Its head's almost out. And I pushed it down, and I opened my legs up, and they went whack. And that was the end of this beautiful snake. I was saved. I could have lost my life, all because of my stupidity. But I didn't know. In those days, snakes were the enemy, really. But I didn't do that because it was an enemy. I did it, I don't know why. Nowadays, if I came across that snake when I'm out mushrooming or walking in the fields, I wouldn't dice with danger. I'd look at it, I'd know it was dangerous. But I just let it go on its merry way into the fields. Now, was that interesting? Oh, yes, I hear you say. And I'll tell you why. Let's have a look. I'll tell you why. I'm going to show you my secrets. Nothing you can't do. So we had a heading, dice with danger. That's all I spoke to. Dice with danger. I didn't have any of that written out. It's all done from memory. The heading has got to be something catchy related to the story. Don't dice with danger. For those of you who watch my Magic Minutes on social media, they've all got a catchy title. Then I started off with a universal statement that everyone's got to agree to. Sometimes, what did I say? Do you remember what I said? I said, have you ever done anything stupid and regretted it? Now, everyone in the room, everyone out there, is the pressure's on you, not on me anymore. You're thinking, well, yeah, and you're nodding and you're smiling. And I do that with an audience with public speaking. I come out there, I'm nervous, I'm full of adrenaline, and they're sitting there comfortable thinking, let's check this guy out and see how good he is. And the first thing they hear, has anyone here ever felt a little bit nervous when you're asked to speak before a group? Can I see your hands? Where's the pressure now? It's away from me, it's onto them, and within 10 seconds I've got them involved in my talk. And then I let them go. I release the pressure from them and say, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. And we're all friends, and I'm into the talk. So there's a wonderful little opening that you can use. 3, relive the little incident from memory. That's what you do in everyday conversation. I'm not teaching you things you don't already do. In everyday conversation, someone says something and you say, oh, yeah, the same thing happened to me. And you relive it from memory. What I've done here. You don't come across as perfect, but you come across as interesting. And then finally make your point. I just go back to the opening and sort of rehash that a little bit. Something like this. If ever I'm walking in the fields again, I see a beautiful snake like that, I'm not going to dice with danger. I'll just let it go its merry way. Magic stuff. So you can use that, and we're going to use that formula, because there's nothing teaches anyone better than a good example. That's the only way, really. An example, an example, an example. As I said before, that period from when you're tapped on the shoulder to when you step up onto the platform is absolutely critical, because that's a time when most people don't do anything. They just worry about the talk they've got to give. And in the last day, they'll cobble something together. And in the meantime, that worry doesn't do anything. The night you are told you're going to ask to give a talk, you grab a bit of paper and pen and you throw something down. That's what I did with this webinar. That was a few weeks ago. I start with the end in mind. What do I want these people to walk away with? I want them to walk away knowing that they are a font of their own learnings and wisdom. They're not an empty vessel. Then I said, how am I going to start saying this? Well, I'm just going to be friendly and establish a little bit of credibility, and that I've written some books and helped people as a coach for 20 or 30 years. In a humble way. But boy, do I know what I'm doing. I've learnt about it. What I do is a bit different, though. So cultivate a habit of preparing early. Ending, beginning, and then in the middle, I put some signposts in. Girl on the couch, Kate's story, the snake story, how to tell a talk, bit of me in there too. I had arrows going everywhere, just a scratchy old beginning. And then that grew and formed this webinar as we went along.
The extra H&R Block got me. This tax time, don't do it all yourself. Switch to H&R Block. Looks legit, and you could get.
Okay. So don't forget to create the habits of that very night you find out, and that'll take a lot of the pressure off you. The other thing you can do is what I call a conversation test. That is, drop your little stories into a conversation. I do it all the time. Talk I've got to give, I'll just drop it in and see how it went. If it goes well with 1 or 2 or 3 people, when I do it in front of 102 people, it sounds fantastic because they all respond the same way. But if 102 chuckles turned out to be a room full of laughter, make you look good, and they like it, creates a terrific atmosphere. So test your talks out in conversation. As we're heading down into the last furlong now, I just want you to know, don't do what I did. I spent half my life going through my trials and tribulations, as they're called. You know, people say trials and tribulations. I went from being a garbo, with the Chelsea Council, to running my own tours up in Scandinavia, specialising in the Vikings. But I deemed it all, well, just stuff. Not anymore. Not anymore. Among all that, there was some happiness and some sadness. And now I cherish all these learnings of life. They won't make me who I am. It's the essence of me. At long last, I've got myself right first. I want you to do the same. And you can. You've lived your own journey. For next session, with your book, if you haven't got your copy yet, get cracking, get one. I want you to read pages 1 to 36 for session 2. It's not just a book. It's not just a board. It's an inspiration. It will change your thinking. It will change you. I want you to see yourself in it as you read those pages, and I want you to act on them, and you'll weave your own magic. So let's have a look and see this last session of what it's going to entail. The last session. is controlled anticipation, that period from when you tapped on your shoulder to when you get up, instead of uncontrolled fear. I want you to take control and take a lot of the pressure off you, and your subconscious will be able to help you rather than just worry about it for weeks. That doesn't help you. Over here, you can see this link here will take you to information on the webinars, and the sessions go for the first Thursday in each month, the first Thursday of each month, except January. So I'd like to thank you all for giving up your precious time and being with me tonight. I hope you got something of value out of tonight. I've got lots more to share. And if you feel like writing a review, that's fine, on Google or Facebook or online. But what I'd suggest is you wait till session 3 or 4 when you've really made a big difference and you're standing there speaking with confidence like I am in your own way. And then you can write something down. Follow me on online, and as far as anything else, please, there's the Q&A code to go in to me personally. I'd love to hear from you. Anything you want, I'll even help you out. Just put in the subject line webinar and your question or whatever. I'd only be too happy to. So now that finishes off the formal part of the evening. So I want to leave you with this thought. I want you to walk with a step of real hope, because this panic-free program never makes you feel bad in any way. And it's full of tried and proven strategies that really work. And I look forward to seeing you again in session 2. Until then, I'm Laurie Smale. So, folks, I'll be able to answer some of your questions. You can unmute yourself if you feel like doing so, or comments or observations. And I'll certainly answer anything or contribute. So don't be afraid. We've still got a little bit of time left. How's our time going? Yeah? If not, that's fine. Look, there's a learning thing in this. A lot of people are terrified when they say, well, we've got some time. No doubt these ideas have stimulated some ideas of your own. Has anyone got any questions? And there's just silence and no one says anything. Well, don't worry. You're not a failure. It's obvious that they've learned so much that they're still sitting there stunned and they're soaking stuff in. So it's all positive. So
stop the recording, but still be available.
Oh yeah. So
stop the recording.
Oh yeah, I'm going to stop the recording now.